Hi, and happy Taco Tuesday to you. My name is Pam Smith, registered dietitian, nutritionist, and chef, and I could not be more excited to be joining you and FNCE, but straight from my own kitchen. We've had an opportunity to do this on Sunday and on Monday, yesterday, and today, an opportunity to really cook up some delicious and nutritious dishes and built around really one of my favorite, not only topics and favorite ingredients and foods, but the most celebrated food that I really work with day in and day out. Again, like all of you, I am all about nutrition. I'm all about helping people to develop a lifestyle of nutrition, how they can embrace principles of eating and living that can make the healthy difference in their life, whether they're just trying to support their immune system, whether they're an athlete trying to take care of inflammation and better muscle recovery and reducing soreness, whether they're a person that is in some very dire situations and working to manage a disease situation. I am all about helping them to find practical solutions, but also delicious ones. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Again, Taco Tuesday, who doesn't love to celebrate that? But when you can do Taco Tuesday with a difference, well, that is what we're going to do today. I'm calling this a stepped up taco bar. Stepped up taco bar because we're celebrating mushrooms. Like I said, one of my favorite topics, favorite ingredients, and for all of the right reasons. Many of you know that I have the incredible blessing opportunity to co-chair the Culinary Institute of America's Healthy Menus R&D Collaborative. And it was in that collaborative about a decade ago when we were seeking tasty solutions for a changing appetite of America. Large volume food service working together, not in a competitive sense, but in a very much a collaborative sense, to be able to find ways to compel craveable dishes to be ordered and to be celebrated, to become top sellers, not because they had a little heart by them or not because a healthy icon was there, but because they were just so delicious that people wanted to order them. And oh, by the way, better for you. It was out of that quest that we discovered something called the blend, something that has very much been popularized over this last decade. The blend, simply a way of reducing animal protein in even a very iconic kind of food like a iconic American hamburger or taco meat, which we'll be doing today, and replacing some of that, be it 25% in a burger or even 50% or 30% in something like a chili or a taco meat, to replace it with mushrooms, but not just any mushrooms, mushrooms that have been roasted and ground to resemble ground protein so they become part of the dish, but bringing so much to the table, bringing flavor, bringing moisture, because mushrooms do that. They're like a sponge of both moisture and flavor, but they also bring that incredible umami, that craveability, that unctuousness, and they're bringing produce to that dish while reducing that reliance on the total 100% animal protein. What we came out with was the blend, and now you've seen it written about in publications all across the globe. You've seen it come up on chain restaurant menus like Seasons 52 or Sonic, a QSR that rolled out the Slinger, not a slider, not a burger, but a Slinger, which was the first ever blended burger to be on a QSR menu. Delicious and nutritious. Oh, you bet you. Well, when we look at a burger, which I did in our time of cooking on Sunday, we replaced about 25% of the very lean beef. It was a grass-fed 90-10 beef with 25% of this roasted mushroom base, which we'll look at in a moment. We made not only a burger or a slider with that, but we also made some incredible mini meatloaves. We also went on to talk about how you could do meatballs with those. Keep your eyes tuned on the mushroomcouncil.org or mushroomcouncil.com website, and in a little bit of time, we'll see those demos pop up. Yesterday, I did a very similar thing, but instead of using beef, I did my own version of what you might call an impossible burger. I call it the possible burger. It's a real food blend, not ultra hot processed, with chickpeas, using chickpea liquid, the aquafaba, to be the egg white replacement, farro, and again, those incredible roasted mushrooms, ground to become something that makes a killer burger. Or you could even use this blend to do this incredible taco mixture that we're getting ready to do. Again, those demos should be available to you. All of the recipes are available to you. As soon as you put your email up, we have Maria standing by, not just to record those, but also to take your questions. And speaking of questions, Maria also has this incredible mushroom swag bag. It might have a t-shirt in it, it might have an apron, it might have a cutting board. Who knows what you'll find in that grab bag, but if you ask a question, we're gonna take some time to answer those questions, or at least those that we can. Maria will be registering that and we'll send you that swag bag, but again, you'll also get all the recipes from Sundays, Mondays, and today's. And today's is fun. I had an opportunity to do this very stepped up taco bar at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, October, a couple of years ago. We wanted to be able to give the athletes that were training there an opportunity to learn the wonders of mushrooms. The fact that mushrooms are one of the only, well, actually the only plant source, produce source of natural vitamin D. No need to fortify it like you would with milk. These are a natural source, especially those that have been UV light exposed. As a matter of fact, a cremini mushroom, or it's what it grows up to be, a portobello, when UV light exposed, has 128% of the RDA for vitamin D. But even the white mushroom, the white button mushroom, so approachable, so affordable, also has not only that vitamin D, but potassium, B vitamins, and a nutraceutical called ergothioneine that not only works to help our DNA production, but again, is part of that whole muscle recovery move and a huge part of strengthening, supporting our immune system. Mushrooms have become a top trend, not just over the last couple of years, but particularly during this time of pandemic, because of it being a functional food, that ability to support our immune system because of that natural vitamin D and the ergothioneine that's there. So a lot to talk about when we talk about mushrooms, but right now we're gonna think, yeah, totally delicious and nutritious, but how you can also make them easy to come together, again, in an iconic food, be it a burger or be it a taco. We've got a couple things happening at the Olympic Training Center. We did a taco bar that used portobello mushrooms for a vegan offering. Portobello mushrooms that were grilled and sliced into a steak, almost like a steak fajita with onions and jalapenos. But we also did a blended meal of blended turkey meat together with these roasted, beautiful roasted mushroom base, as I call it. Together, you've got a taco bar extraordinaire. Let's start with those portobellos right now, but let me take just a little breath and say, Maria, are there any questions out there? Are there people wanting a swag bag?
Yes, there are. We do have a few questions right off of the bat. The first one, how do you know if mushrooms have been exposed to UV light?
It's becoming, great question, it's becoming more and more the case because we're learning the wonders of the fact that mushrooms are the only produce with vitamin D, and you'll see that right on the label. So when you're picking up mushrooms, you'll see those that have had UV light exposure. And so that's one of the ways that you can look for it as well. But again, creminis, portobellos, again, even white buttons are those that we see with that UV light exposure. Great question.
And then one more that really leads us well into our next step. How long do you roast your mushrooms?
That it's a beautiful question because you're right. It takes us right into what we need to do. And let's talk about why we roast them. So hold on and I'll get to the how long. We're roasting the mushrooms for this blend because I'm really wanting to concentrate the flavor. In roasting, as anything you roast, tomatoes or Brussels sprouts or cauliflower, when you're roasting at a very high heat, I set the heat at a 400-degree Fahrenheit in the oven. That high heat will evaporate the moisture out of the produce, and what you're left with is, again, this concentration. It's more than dehydrating it, it's concentrating the flavor, concentrating the umami, and concentrating its sponge-like capability. Because like a sponge that's been wrung out of all liquid, it becomes much more absorptive. And that's what keeps the liquid, the moisture inside of a protein kind of a dish. You usually lose about half the weight. So I start with, let's say 2 cups in this case of a sliced mushroom. I just drizzle it with just a little touch of olive oil and a little bit of a seasoning. It could be a Creole seasoning. I use my Creole Kitchen. It could be a little bit of salt and pepper, just a light toss, get them into that 400-degree oven, and it takes generally about 15 to 20 minutes. If you're roasting whole, it'll take a little bit longer. I like to slice it because I'm wanting to get more caramelization on the slices, but wait till you see this little Jedi mind trick here. When you bring it out of the oven, what you see is almost a dry mushroom. It goes from 2 cups of mushrooms to a cup of mushrooms, but you're also getting all of that beautiful caramelization, incredible flavor. So much you can do with these. I use these just on their own on a pizza. I use these to grind and turn into a mushroom powder or dust that I add to spice blends. But where I really use them, speaking of grinding, is turning them into this roasted mushroom base, which is called, again, the base for the blend. And what I do with them is simply get them into the food processor, just a few pulses, and what you come up with is this incredible base that, yet again, could be used as just a sprinkle on a flatbread or a pizza. It can be used in so many myriad of ways, and it can even be frozen. So when I'm doing a lot of mushrooms at one time, which I encourage you to do, because I want this to be a staple in your house. I don't want it to be just something you do for a recipe on occasion. I want the blend to be a part of everyone's life because it just provides so many benefits. Once it's in this pulverized form, pulsed to the place that it really is almost resembling ground beef in and of itself, you could see how easy it would be to mix it into a ground beef mixture for a burger or for tacos, or mix it into turkey for these turkey tacos, which we're getting to do, or what I did yesterday, mix it into those chickpeas and farro, because it makes its own version of a plant-based burger. But the umami is just absolutely incredible. So again, 400-degree oven, this is all in your recipe. You roast it for about 15 to 20 minutes until it's almost dry to touch. Let it cool just slightly and then put it into your food processor, some quick pulses, and you have your blend. To freeze it, you could just put it into a small Ziploc bag, put it in a flat way, get it into your freezer, thaw it overnight in the refrigerator, and voila, you have everything you need. And you're ready to get started with your taco blend, which we're going to do in just a moment. Yes.
A few more questions on roasting mushrooms. The first one, how do you keep them from getting soggy when roasting them?
Well, that's where the high heat of the oven comes in. And actually, I generally will put the pan that you're going to roast in the oven in advance. This is a little kitchen hack for any vegetable that you roast. If you get your pan into the oven and let it heat with the oven, by the time it's 400, as soon as you hit the pan with these mushrooms, you immediately get that caramelization, almost a sear, just as if you were putting scallops into a smoking hot pan. With that caramelization, you start getting the flavor development, And again, it prevents those mushrooms from doing what they would do in a more tepid pan where they release the juices, which is probably what our person who asked the question is thinking about, how they almost purge all of that moisture and become soggy. In roasting, you don't get that at all. The key is high heat. And that little trick of getting your pan into the oven in advance. I do it for Brussels sprouts, I do it for cauliflower, potatoes, anything that I'm roasting, let the pan be the first thing you put into the oven.
Great, thank you. And then one more question about roasted mushrooms. Can you buy them anywhere?
Interesting. You can't, well, yes and no. The answer to that question is we have a variety of mushroom suppliers that are starting to actually market the blend. So it's not that you can buy roasted mushrooms in exactly that way, but you can buy the blend in exactly this way. It's ready to blend, and you'll find that at your grocery store in the produce area. So again, it's a ready to blend mushroom blend. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more of that coming your way. Easy to do at home, but if you want to buy it or recommend it to patients or clients, that's a great thing to do as well. So great idea and great question. So we got the blend done. Let's talk a little bit about these portobello kinds of mushrooms. Now, many people have, a love for portobellos. Who doesn't? And again, the cremini mushroom is basically the baby bella. And this is what happens when it grows up. Years ago, I used to go to portobello mushrooms as my go-to for a plant-based burger. I would just use the portobello and grill it and replace a classic burger with this. There's a lot of things you can do with portobellos besides that, but still take advantage of the fact that they have a very meaty-like texture and flavor. All that I do to do the grill is I just remove that little bit of a stem, and then with my knife, just scrape a little bit of the gills off of it. The only reason to do that is it will turn your steak, if you will, a little bit darker. Now, I will also tell you, I don't waste these. I use these in making stocks or gravy. There's nothing wrong with them. As a matter of fact, loaded with flavor, loaded with fiber, loaded with beta-glucan, which is another nutraceutical that even one that we find in oatmeal, we find in these mushrooms, and we find in these gills. So get it scraped away. You can use that. We have a no-waste kitchen here. And once you get that done, get it onto a plate. I have provided a recipe for you for a chili lime vinaigrette. And I'll tell you, it's a delicious vinaigrette just to use on a salad, to use on a slaw, to use as a marinade, be it beef, be it chicken, or be it portobello mushrooms. And all we're gonna do is just let this kind of marinade just for a little bit. It's a blend of olive oil and some balsamic, a chili lime seasoning that you can buy from your store. I not only marinate the portobello, but I also like to marinate some onions with this and marinate some jalapenos because I'm kind of letting this be almost like a steak fajita. And so with that, the onions and the jalapenos just really work out perfectly. Now, in a perfect world, I would let that marinate a little bit longer, but I have a pan already grilling an onion that I had done this little bit of a marinade of before, and some of those little jalapeno strips. And all I'm gonna do is just place that right into the pan. You immediately hear that wonderful sizzle that goes with it. Because this is vegetable, not animal protein, even after I bring it out of the pan, I like to toss it back into that marinated. When it's hot, the cells of the produce are a little bit more open, so if you can put it right back into that marinade, you get even a little more uptake of the flavor. And that's what we're really looking to do. Think of this as like a marinated steak. But what we're gonna do is let that grill and then slice it just like it's a steak. And that's what you see here. Just nice thin slices, some beautiful caramelized onion that has been marinated and then grilled in this grill pan. And if you dare, some strips of some jalapeno pepper. If you like it to be a little bit milder than the jalapeno, maybe you'd like to use a Fresno pepper or a poblano. But again, just getting that little bit of marinade with it as well. Let it grill, do a nice little flip of it, both with the onion. Oh yeah, you start to see those beautiful grill marks, and the jalapenos as well. You can do this on a grill. Has beautiful forgivability and hold. You can even do this in advance and then build your taco bar a little bit better. But I'm just gonna let that continue and get happy, while meanwhile, I have worked to get my pan heating up over here for my turkey mushroom blend to make tacos. Now, I bought white meat turkey breast. Now, any of you that know the grill or the drill about turkey, ground turkey, you know that traditionally it's ground with skin, it's ground with dark meat, it's ground with some fat to make it somewhat approachable to the American palate. If you just use turkey breast that's been ground, it can be pretty dry. Some would even call it a little hockey puckish. Well, the mushroom blend takes care of that completely because of that incredible functionality of the moisture that goes with it. So all I'm gonna do here is I could go ahead and mix the blend together, but since I'm doing it all in one pan, I'm gonna get the turkey in, go ahead and add my blend. And in this particular case, because it's a loose meat, not a patty that I'm going to be grilling over an open grill, I can do a little higher percentage. If it was a turkey patty that I'm grilling, I tend to not do less than, I do 75% of the protein and about 25% of the roasted mushroom base. Because it's a loose meat, I could take that right up to almost 50-50. There's a lot of campuses and universities across the country that do a 50-50 burger. UMass, it's the only burger that they serve is a blended burger, and again, it's 50-50. They cook it on a flat top, so they're not worried about that foldability. Generally, though, I do a 75% protein, 25% of the roasted mushroom base, unless it's a loose meat like this for taco or for chili. Even a meatloaf, you could do a little bit less because generally you'll have something that's helping to bind that, be it egg or breadcrumbs that will hold it together a little bit more. You can see as the turkey browns here, it becomes basically the same color of that roasted mushroom base. So not that we're trying to ever be deceptive, but you really don't know what's there. So even kids in K-12 have no idea that when they're eating a delicious burger in their schools, they're oftentimes eating a blended burger. They may say, I would never eat mushrooms. Yeah, I don't like mushrooms, but they have a burger that is absolutely fabulous and delicious. Little do they know it's delicious because it's power packed with these power mushroom blends. I'm gonna add whatever your favorite taco seasoning would be. I have one that I do called Texi Taco, and that's what I'm using. I'm gonna just use it to coat that meat and the mushroom blend. The aromatics from it are incredible. I know that many of you know this, but anytime you're cooking with spices, if you can get it into that hot pan for just a few moments before you add the liquid, you get a bloom of those spices, very similar to Indian cooking, where they'll actually saute the spices to release those essential oils, the flavors, and certainly the aromatics. Once I get that nicely tossed, I'm going to add just a little bit of water to it. That's going to give me, oh, you hear that? All of a sudden now we have this great sauce that's coming together with this and making it really ready to be built for our incredible stepped up taco bar. So this is turkey meat with a difference. You just want to keep that little saute going until there's no pink left in the turkey meat. I've done this with ground chicken. I've done it with ground lamb. I've done it with ground beef, of course, and even this possible burger blend. So again, I can't wait for you all to get that recipe to be able to see how you can pull all of this together. Once we have that done, you just want to keep it warm. Now, if I'm serving a crowd for a taco bar, I love to serve it just like this, either on a bar or even on my stove, just as I'm doing, or perhaps I'll use a cast iron skillet like this and have an induction burner that I can keep that hot, or maybe it's a crock pot that I'm having to put this in. Whatever it is, you're wanting to keep that hot. Have your mushrooms that are sliced as your portobello steak ready to go. And then really all that you're wanting to do is just have your tortillas, either your soft flour tortillas, or maybe you want to serve just the classic one that is the fill and stand up kind, or maybe you'd like to use a flour tortilla. Whichever you're doing, if it's a soft one, you always want to get it into your pan and get a little heat on that first. It just helps to, again, release those natural oils, release that toasted corn flavor, and it just makes it a little more malleable and able to work with it. If I'm heating a lot at one time, I just wrap these up in a little bit of foil and put them into about a 300-degree oven, and they'll all heat quite nicely. But because I'm just doing a little serving for you right now, I'm gonna do this right here. And Maria, while I'm building these tacos, any other questions?
Yes, so many questions. The first
So many questions, so little time, right?
yes, absolutely. Do you see any new mushroom varieties emerging on the market, or are cremini and button mushrooms going to be continually popular in the US?
So great. There are so many incredible cultivated mushrooms that have come onto the market and very available. There's a difference between just being on the market versus able to be found at your grocery store, at your Publix or Wegmans or Whole Foods or Fresh Market. And I have some that I absolutely love. So creminis, portobellos, buttons, those are the ones that Americans know best. But in addition to that, there's obviously shiitakes, which we oftentimes see dried, but again, easy to find, fresh, also a cultivated mushroom. And there's oyster mushrooms, maitake mushrooms, trumpet mushrooms. All of them have the similar kind of nutritional value to them. A little differences. Maitakes have been known for literally centuries to help to support immune system. And they have such an incredible texture with them. The key about mushrooms is that by going with some of the different varieties, you just have this incredible global diversity into the recipes that you're putting together. So you could do just a quick kind of almost tempura with maitake mushrooms and get this incredible texture going. They're very similar to hen in the woods. Oyster mushrooms, again, just have so much cool texture. They're beautiful grilled, wonderful to put into pastas. And then when you think about trumpets, trumpet mushrooms look almost like spare ribs. I've done these cool things where you can actually skewer them, put them onto the grill with some barbecue sauce, and it's a plant-based, quote, quote, spare ribs. Portobellos, I do a pulled port, which is like a pork belly in barbecue, but I'm pulling the portobellos. So much opportunity. And honestly, where I would send you to learn about that opportunity is the Mushroom Council website, mushroomcouncil.org, mushroomcouncil.com. A plethora of different recipes. Some of them are mine, but some of them are great chefs all over the world, and you'll just see that, and tremendous inspiration for the blended burger or the blended meat project. So a lot there. Great question. Okay, I've got my 2 corn tortillas, and when I'm doing corn tortillas, I do like to double stack them, particularly if I'm putting them into a taco kind of stand, because the single one just is a little more flimsy than I would like it to be. If I was to use this turkey blended meat, I'm just gonna build it by putting a little bit of the meat there. You might wanna put the slaw down as your first thing, or put, again, the turkey blend that's there. The slaw is a blend of green cabbage, some red pepper, and some red onion with just a little bit of rice wine vinegar and seasoning. It's just a delicious slaw and stands up on a taco bar just a little bit better than lettuce, which just tends to kind of lose its way. Maybe you'd like to put just a few little avocado slices on this as well, and maybe just a little sprinkling of a Mexican cheese, and then any kind of topping you might want to do. I provided a recipe for a Salsa Verde, which is really a tomatilla salsa. It's tomatillos with an avocado. The tomatillos are not cooked, so you get all that beautiful vibrancy and almost acidity that's there. And then I also provided a recipe for a cilantro lime crema, which just is a great little topping as well. Ranch dressing move over. There's a new kid in town when you come to this. Maybe a few little sprinkles could do, and you've got your perfect little street taco. Or maybe you would like to use your flour tortilla, which again works beautifully. Same thing, just give that a little bit of heat, either in a cast iron pan such as this. Takes no time at all to heat it, but again, makes it just very easy to work with. Get it into your pan, and perhaps this is one that we'll use our portobello steak. Similarly, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of my slaw onto the bottom. Then I'm going to top it with some of this beautiful portobello steak strips, some of the incredible onion that we just diced after we took it off the grill, little bit of that incredible jalapeno. And because I'm looking for a little extra hit of protein, I'm going to add some beans to this. It could be black beans. This is a bean blend with some black beans, red beans, soybeans. Really gives great flavor. If someone is totally plant-based, we can leave it at that, or could use a vegan kind of cheese. Or if they're okay with a little hit of cheese, we could sprinkle that on. And then again, that incredible salsa verde, little bit of extra sprinkle that's there from some scallions. And I'm telling you what, we have got a street taco extraordinaire and perfect to be able to have on our stepped up taco bar. So I think we've done it, Maria. What do you think?
I love it. That looks incredible.
Well, it's Tuesday, so it needs to look incredible, especially when we're talking about tacos. So couldn't be more fun and couldn't be more delicious. The only thing I wish for all of you is that you were right here in my kitchen so we could dive in, because the scents that are going on in this kitchen, the aromatics are over the top. You can almost smell the deliciousness. And because we're RDs, we can feel the nutritionist. And what could be better than that?
Nothing at all, I don't think. We do have a few more questions for you if you're up for them.
Absolutely, let's go.
Starting with cleaning mushrooms. Sometimes rinsing them off with water can be a faster way, but maybe that's not necessarily the best way. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I was wishing that I had a whole one here that I could work on, but I don't. I think I've used them all through our days, but let's take this tomatillo and pretend that it's a mushroom. When you look at the mushroom, generally you'll have some growing medium. Now, you might think, but aren't mushrooms grown in compost or unmentionable things? No, it's an organic, it's a sterilized growing medium. So no need to be fearful of that. It's not dirt, it's a growing medium, but you still might want to brush it away. And just with a little bit of a wet paper towel, just go right onto that and brush away that little bit of growing medium that remains. You're right, it seems easy to douse them in water, put them in a colander and run water over them, but because mushrooms are such sponges, and particularly when we're then going to be trying to roast them or maybe saute them to cook water out, you don't want to add any water. So just doing that little brush away with a little bit of a damp paper towel, it's great. And I've got a very clean tomatillo now as well. So all is good. Another question.
Yes, maitake mushrooms. What's your favorite way to use them?
So I love them grilled. As I mentioned, they're similar to Hen of the Woods, and they just have this incredible look and texture to them. I love to slice them and grill them on a grill pan just like this. I love to slice them and do a very quick kind of a saute, or as I mentioned a little bit earlier, you could do just a really light kind of saute with them as well. A little bit of rice flour and some seasoning just to give that almost tempura kind of coating will also make them really beautiful and can use them as almost a topper for a dish. My takis with pasta, can't ask for anything better. So delicious. The key is to experiment. I mean, mushrooms, there's just a whole world of them. And, you know, there's books and books and books written on foraged mushrooms, what to eat, what not to eat, what to avoid, what's toxic. But you can trust cultivated mushrooms. That's what the Mushroom Council is all about, supporting the mushroom farmers across the North Americas. And it's just incredible to see their innovation as they're bringing to us products like our own blend that we can do quite simply. And even some products that are already blended are starting to come to market.
Great. Our next question is about vitamin D content. How many mushrooms in the market actually have vitamin D? What portion of the market is it?
Great. So again, as I said, doesn't take many mushrooms, just 5 cremini mushrooms, 4 to 5, depending on the size, will have that 128% of the RDA for vitamin D. But again, those are the UV exposed ones. Even those that have not been UV light exposed will still have about a third of your RDA, and so you can for vitamin D. So you can count on that from any mushroom that you see. The percentage that is in the market, we're starting to see increase as there's more and more of a demand for it. It's all about supply and demand. We'll see it a little bit more in creminis and portobellos than we will in white buttons, which is why you'll see the price a little bit lower with white buttons than you will with the creminis and the portobellos.
Love it. Okay, one final question on your setup there. What kind of camera are you using to shoot this demo?
Well, the most important answer to that is actually the person behind the camera, which is Nicole. So we can all say thank you, Nicole, for being so amazing. But she is using, believe it or not, her iPhone. So there's nothing better. She has a gimbal. So those of you that are doing some things like this at home, it's just a whole lot better if you can have a gimbal that can do the magic work, like coming in a little bit up close to something, moving without a lot of jerky movements, not to mention trying to hold it like this versus like this. So, but it's superior skill and gifting from Nicole. She rocks.
And we have to thank you both so much for hosting this for us. This was another wonderful event. Obviously, Taco Tuesday is our favorite day of the week. So thank you so much to you both.
You are so very welcome. And thank all of you all that are still with us for joining us. And I can't wait to hear about your mushroom swag bag, go for the recipes, and really start to explore the incredible world of mushrooms. You too can become a blenditarian.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pam. And just a reminder to everyone that's on the call today that you'll be able to find all 3 of these recordings at mushroomcouncil.org. And we will be sending out notes to all of you that have dropped your emails in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us today.
See you later. Bye-bye-bye. Happy Taco Tuesday.
Bye-bye.